Yesterday, President Obama wrapped up a three-day fundraising trip on the West Coast, where he took his time in speeches to once again attack American corporations, saying not paying their fair share is like renouncing their citizenship. Watch.
Even as corporate profits are higher than ever, there's a small but growing group of big corporations that are fleeing the country to get out of paying taxes. They're keeping usually their headquarters here in the U.S. They don't want to give up the best universities and the best military and all the advantages of operating in the United States. They just don't want to pay for it. So they're technically renouncing their U.S. citizenship. They're declaring they're based someplace else, even though most of their operations are here. You know, some people are calling these companies corporate deserters.
But that's not the only absurd statement President Obama made recently. Take a look at this economic prediction he made on CNBC yesterday.
You know, I am always bullish about America over the long term. And if you think about where we were, Steve, when I came into office and where we are now, it's pretty hard to find an economic measure where we're not significantly better off.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. President, but according to a Fox News poll, 60% of Americans disagree, saying they are not satisfied with the way things are going in the country today. Still with me is Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. Senator, we can see in the background you're in Cincinnati. You spoke to the Urban League. Tell us, why did you speak there?
Well, you know, because I want people to know and everyone to know, the country to know, that Republicans are going to compete for African-American votes, that we have a lot to say on issues of poverty and unemployment. You know, the president says all the economic indicators are looking good and things are looking up. Well, black unemployment is still twice white unemployment. And I know his heart's in the right place, but his policies are in the wrong place. His policies aren't working. You know, he talks about wanting to punish corporations. Well, corporations provide a lot of jobs. They create a lot of jobs. I called the president this week and I said, do you want that money to come home? Do you want less companies to go overseas with their money? I said, if we lower the tax rate, that money will come home. Interestingly, the president in 2005, when we voted for a lower tax rate on corporations, he did vote for it. And over $300 billion came home. We could do it again. I asked the president for his help. I have an amendment that would temporarily lower the tax rate again to try to encourage companies to bring their money home, and I asked him for his help.
So, Senator, let me stay in the Urban League for a second. Earlier you spoke. We have a little piece of that sound if we can play this first.
As a physician, I was trained to diagnose the problem and find a solution, not worry about which party it came from. As a legislator, I try to do the same. My hope is that each of you will work with me to find solutions that aren't hung up in partisan politics, and that together we might rise above a dysfunctional Congress and do what's right for the country.
Now, the reason why I wanted to play that, Senator, Democrats criticize the GOP for not engaging the African-American vote, yet you'll go to the Urban League and get criticized for doing that. What gives?
Well, I think they're starting to worry, to tell you the truth. Everywhere I go, most African-American voters are saying, you know what? They're happy to see Republicans compete for their vote because they haven't seen the Democrats in their district. They haven't seen the Democrats coming home and talking to them. They haven't seen the Democrats coming up with any solution. For example, I've been to Detroit, and I have a plan to bring $1.3 billion or leave $1.3 billion in Detroit by lowering their taxes. I've seen no Democrat plan to help Detroit. So frankly, I want to compete for the African-American vote by saying, you know what? Republicans have policies to help with poverty, to help with long-term unemployment, and we're going to be there, and we're going to let you know that we do have real policies.
You know who else is worried, Senator? Senior White House advisor Dan Pfeiffer is worried. Let's take a look at the quote that he made today, this very day. He says, quote, I think one of the most intriguing candidates is Senator Paul. I think he has a message. He's the only Republican who has articulated a message that is potentially appealing to younger Americans. Were you surprised to hear that? And does that say you are the front runner that they're watching out for?
I don't know about that, but what I do say is that issues of privacy, reigning in the NSA, it's popular for all young people, whether they think they're a Republican, Democrat, or independent. Young people don't want the government eavesdropping on their phone. They don't want them recording their metadata or any information without a warrant, without probable cause. So, yeah, that appeals to a great cross-section of people that really could help swing the vote back the Republican way. But I also want to compete for the African American vote, for the Hispanic vote, by saying, you know what? We are the party that is for more people voting. We are the party of voting rights and civil rights. And I think if we take our message to these different audiences and show up, I think I was the first Republican to show up at the Urban League in years. If we will show up with that message, I think we can compete for votes, and people are going to be shocked at how many African Americans say, you know what, Democrat Party's taking me for granted, and I'm open to new messages if there's something that party's going to do for my community.
Senator, are they responding to your GOP message, or are they responding to specifically your libertarian bend on the GOP message?
A little bit of both. I think the criminal war, the criminal justice, the war on drugs has had a racial outcome. It's disproportionately imprisoned African Americans and Hispanics. I want to change that. I'm willing to work with people on the other side. I'm willing to work with Cory Booker to try to reform our drug laws so people don't get trapped into this cycle of poverty and incarceration. I'm actually willing to work with Harry Reid. We don't always agree with everything or on everything, but I'm willing to work with him that if you've served your time, you're out of prison, to get you back into society, restore your right to vote, and restore your right or your opportunity to try to get a job again.
I can't imagine they're pointing fingers at you now for not reaching out to the African-American vote. Was President Obama there, by the way?
No, I didn't see him. Vice President Biden was here. But I think really that there are many things. You look at education. What's the great equalizer in our society? It's educational opportunity. But Democrats really have been beholden to the status quo, whereas you see Republicans like myself saying, you know what, the money should go to the kids. Let the kids choose what school they go to. Don't send it to the school districts. Let the kids choose. And I met a young man today who said, you know what, I was sent to a failing school, but if the money would have been mine, if I'd had a voucher or school choice, I could have taken it to the school of my choice and gotten a better education.
All right, Senator, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us from Cincinnati, the Urban League. Great job. Thank you. All right, coming up, we all remember this video.